Today on the Saturday show, we're kicking things off right away with Star Trek, the motion picture. The original Star Trek television series had been canceled after only 3 seasons, despite fan demands that the show continue. Though the animated series continued the adventures of Captain Kirk and his crew, the demand for the return of Star Trek continued to grow in the wake of syndicated reruns and the beginning of fan conventions. Originally planned as a follow-up TV series called Star Trek Phase 2, the success of major motion pictures like Star Wars spawned the studio to believe that Star Trek could work as a film. With one of the biggest press conferences ever held, they announced that Robert Wise would direct a Star Trek feature film with an incredible budget. The original cast would all return: William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, DeForest Kelley, James Doohan, Walter Koenig, Nichelle Nichols, and George Takei. Music would be scored by legendary composer Jerry Goldsmith, and it would begin his relationship with the Star Trek franchise that lasted until 2002. The sets were all enormously expensive, and the movie would feature some of the newest special effects available in filmmaking. The Enterprise never looked better. But the script would undergo many changes over the course of its long production, and the story would become shaky. NASA itself would advise on Star Trek, as well as people like Isaac Asimov. The movie would feature many redesigns of the original show's sets and costumes, meant to bring the story and the movie forward to what seemed more modern at the time. Director Robert Wise largely left it up to the actors to make sure that the characters and acting stayed true to their nature from the original series, as he was largely unaware of Star Trek before being given the directing job for this movie. But production and post-production were both hugely troubled, and the film was both highly over budget and incredibly late. When it was released in 1979, it was not quite as successful as the studio anticipated, and critical reception was mediocre. Some fans felt that the movie was too slow, and that the special effects had taken more importance over story and plot. The financial success of Star Trek the Motion Picture was enough, however, to convince the studio to move forward with a second movie. But the budget was cut, and creator Gene Roddenberry was removed from creative control. As a movie, I really enjoyed Star Trek's first outing. I thought it felt just as grand as I wanted it to after viewing the entire original show first. It felt like Star Trek had graduated. I see why some people complain, but personally, I loved this movie. Up next, we're going to do our special feature for the week, and it's all about Captain Kirk himself. Let's talk about the life and career of William Shatner. William Shatner was born in Canada in 1931 and began his career starring in Canadian television and theater productions. His early work on the stage would shape his path to stardom and the public persona that would make him a star for decades. He began appearing on television in shows such as The Twilight Zone and Alfred Hitchcock Presents. For his work in Star Trek, many people saw Shatner as being the next television star who could break out into film, such as Clint Eastwood had after Rawhide. But Shatner appeared in several films and television pieces that were not so well received. In the 70s, he would finally return as Captain Kirk in the form of Star Trek the Motion Picture, and this would put Shatner back in the public eye and lead to him appearing in several Star Trek films, as well as getting the lead role on T.J. Hooker, which ran for 5 TV seasons. During the 80s, he hosted Rescue 911 and would direct Star Trek V: The Final Frontier himself. He released several entertaining spoken-word music albums, and later appeared as Denny Crane in the hit show Boston Legal. Having hosted many documentary shows and movies, such as The Unexplained, Weird or What, Raw Nerve, and more, Shatner is always working on something. He stays busy acting and performing, and even played Two-Face in an animated Batman film. Shatner has also written several books about his time on Star Trek, his friendship with Leonard Nimoy, and his life. William Shatner's personal life was deeply affected when he returned home one day to find that his wife, who had struggled with alcoholism, had drowned in their backyard pool. He called her his beautiful soulmate and described it as the great tragedy of his life. But ever an optimist and an adventurer in life, William Shatner became the oldest person to visit outer space when he flew on the Blue Origin NS-18 on October 13, 2021. Upon returning to Earth, Shatner expressed how he was moved by the view of Earth from above, and that he saw the line between space and Earth as similar to the line between life and death. At the age of 90, William Shatner defies age and time and continues to host numerous television shows, including a talk show called I Don't Understand. A new documentary about his spaceflight will soon be coming to Amazon. His career is inspirational and outstanding, one of the foremost well-known stars in all of television and film combined. William Shatner is a man who truly did go to space, the final frontier. This week for our album of the week, I'm excited to be talking to you about another Meat Loaf album. This is his second album, Dead Ringer. Touring and various drug usages had left Meat Loaf's voice and physical condition ravaged after the release of Bat Out of Hell in 1977. Songwriter Jim Steinman had already begun work writing Bad for Good, which would be the follow-up album to their first record. But since Meat was not available, Steinman would release the album performing the vocals himself, to a lukewarm reception. But he would come back to compose a new album for Material when Meat Loaf was ready, and that would manifest as the album Dead Ringer in 1981. Meat Loaf had appeared in several movies by this point and was starting to get his health back on track. Songs like More Than You Deserve and Dead Ringer for Love would feature in his live sets for years to come. The album artwork was designed by comic book artist Bernie Wrightson. But when it was released, Dead Ringer did not have the kind of mainstream success that Bat Out of Hell had experienced. Meat Loaf would continue to tour and release new records, but his next full album with Jim Steinman as a collaborator would be years away, and that's a story for another time. Up next is the performance of an original song, and I thank you for watching another edition of The Saturday Show. I'm Cody Goggin, and I thank you very much.
You were flying in the ocean, and I was swimming in the sky. Nothing seemed to matter except you and I. Oh, heart to heart and hand to hand, you are my woman and I'm your man. Oh, heart to heart and hand to hand, living in forever land. I was dreaming in black and white. I saw your face every single night. The shadows came from down the hall, and then we tumbled as the towers fall. Oh, heart to heart